Hey, what's going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here to bring the 6-game NBA main slate on Saturday. A couple things before I get in the video. If you're new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos talking about NBA DFS as well as NFL DFS. I'm also running a weekly $20 PayPal giveaway on my channel. How it works, all you have to do is leave a like and a comment in the video. That's one entry in the giveaway. Max one comment though per video. So it started with my Monday NBA video at the beginning of the week. We'll go throughout the week. We'll end my Monday NBA video at the end of the week. So however many videos I've uploaded for the week, you can end the giveaway that many times. So if I have 10 videos uploaded for this week, you can end the giveaway 10 times. And again, the winner receives a $20 PayPal for myself. But with that out of the way, let's jump into the video. So first, quickly, let's talk about last night. So last night was very up and down for me. I had a couple smash plays with Jordan McRae and Miles Turner, who I talked about once the bonus got ruled out. He was one of my favorite plays. But then a couple letdown plays. Trae Young, in literally the best possible spot, busting was pretty tilting. Now, a couple things did go into that. The fact that that game was 111 to 101, finished almost 30 points under the total, just completely blows my mind. Two of the worst defensive teams, two of the teams played the fastest pace going up against each other. And it finished one of the lowest totals of the night. So that completely shocked me, as well as Trae Young only playing 30 minutes while he was averaging 38 minutes a game. So he missed out on about 8 minutes. You figure he gets those, he plays his normal 38 minutes, he probably gets to over 50 fantasy points. So yeah, he busted for sure, but he did not see his full allotment of minutes, surprisingly, kind of out of nowhere. But yeah, like I said, it was very up and down. My core was Trae Young, who was bad. It was a close call with me, with him and LeBron. I talked about it. I said I slightly towards Trae Young because of the better matchup. Obviously, LeBron was the better play, so that was kind of a miss. McRae was really good, but then McGee was okay. He got in some foul trouble. Could have been a much bigger night for him. And then as well as like TJ McConnell. He got his 26 minutes. He started. He just had an off night. Normally, TJ McConnell is a pretty productive guy when he gets minutes, and once he got inserted in the starting lineup, I was more confident with his minutes, but he just had an off night. So yeah, like I said, it was very up and down. A couple really good plays with Turner and McRae, but a couple bad plays like Trae Young, TJ McConnell. So let's see if we can bounce back here for this 6-game slate on Saturday. Okay, let's just talk about it. So we'll start at center, and center is loaded today. There's a couple really good spend ups, as well as 3 really cheap centers that I have a lot of interest in as well. So I wish I could play more than 2 centers, but unfortunately, again, Draftkings limits you to 2 centers. But we'll start with Drummond at 10.1, going up against Chicago. This is a smash spot here, and with no Wendell Carter Jr., going to be matched up with either Lauri Markkanen or Daniel Gafford. Yeah, Drummond should have his way here. He played 49 minutes that last game against Cleveland. 49. Now, it did go to overtime, but take that overtime out, he plays 44 out of the 48 minutes for Andre Drummond. That is just insane. I don't think we can expect him to play 40-plus minutes a night, but I think high 30s, maybe like 40, is a pretty safe projection for his minutes if he stays out of foul trouble. So you have to have interest here in Drummond, who stands out as a really good spend up here. Again, the matchup as well. So yeah, you got to have a lot of interest there in Drummond. Anthony Davis, I don't expect him to play. He was ruled out for the game last night. So I assume he's going to be out for this one once again, which makes LeBron a really good spend up play. His price came down surprisingly. As well as I'll talk about JaVale McGee once again as a value guy. Even Kuzma had a pretty solid night there. So those guys all become very much viable. Jokic, one of the most frustrating players to roster in DFS this year. I talk about his trends of his hot streaks and his cold streaks and his hot streaks again. He's kind of on one of his hot streaks. Like before this, he was on a cold streak, great 33, 34, 29, 35. But now back-to-back games, 72 and 55 fantasy points. This game against the Cavs, a pretty good matchup. We just saw what Drummond did to Cleveland, right? He had over 60 in that game. So I think Jokic does make for a solid option here. He's very up and down, though, so that's why I think Drummond is probably the safer option if you're picking between a spend-up center. We have no Joel Embiid. He's going to be out for a bit. I also have interest here in Hassan Whiteside at 8.6K. Now, they're listing him as a game-time decision. I think he's going to be good to go since he played that last game against the Timberwolves. Don't be concerned with only the 28 minutes, right? That game blew out. Everyone got limited. He had 37 fantasy points, though, in that time. So Hassan Whiteside is just a great fantasy point per minute guy right now, and if he's going to play, which I assume he is since he played that game a couple nights ago against the Timberwolves, still dealing with that, what is it, upper respiratory illness, right? He had that on Thursday and he still played through it, so that's why I assume he's going to be good to go. I think he also stands out as a good option here at this price point. I think he's about $500 to $1,000 too cheap right now. He's just been amazing this year. No Kristaps still, so obviously Luka gets a huge boost, but his price hasn't really come down in a tougher spot against Philly. Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson are okay, but probably not the way that I go in a tougher spot against Denver. Tristan Thompson, just thought I'd bring it up out of nowhere, just a massive game, 65 fantasy points out of Tristan Thompson, who literally has flashed like no upside this year, and just out of nowhere just has that huge game. Yeah, I wouldn't chase that. He also played 45 minutes, so he was on pace for 40 minutes. Don't think we can expect that again. Denver does run big, but I'll probably pass on both Love and Tristan Thompson. Now, Al Horford, I do have interest here at 6.7K. With no Joel Embiid, he just gets a huge boost playing that center position. I assume he's going to start at center once again. Probably gets mid-30s minutes. And like I said, with him playing center, it just really boosts his fantasy appeal. So I do have a good amount of interest there in Al Horford as well. Derek Favors, this is pretty big. He aggravated his hamstring once again. This guy, he always seems to be injured. But with him going down, Jackson Hayes now stands out as one of the best value plays of the day. I'll talk about him here in a bit. I fully assume Favors is not going to be good to go for this one since he left that game early and did not come back. Steven Adams more in the mid-range. I think it's just a contrarian option here at 6.4. He has been playing the big minutes. Again, I wouldn't be concerned about 25 there against Houston. That game blew out. He was on pace for over 30. The concern is there's just so many good center plays, right? I already talked about a lot of those guys up top with Drummond, with Jokic, with Whiteside, and there's a few really good cheap centers as well. So I just think, like I said, there's so many centers I like. I just can't get to Steven Adams on this slate. Markkanen had an off game there against the Pacers, 34 minutes, 23 fantasy points. I'm okay with it at this price. He's also very up and down though. Cantor, another one, just again, only GPPs because there's so many good center plays. Dwight Howard, the Lakers, I didn't watch that game, or I watched the first half and fell asleep. JaVale McGee played 18 minutes, so he got in foul trouble, but Dwight Howard only played 10 minutes. So that's 28 minutes only for the center position. So the Lakers must have run a lot of small ball five. Again, I didn't watch that game, but that's most of what happened. Dallas is a team that don't really have a big traditional center, so I guess that did kind of make sense. Whereas here, they're going up against OKC. Steven Adams is on the floor a lot. They also have Mike Muscala. So I think Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee should kind of split the center minutes here. I don't really see the Lakers going a lot of small ball in this one. Again, and this is all assuming Anthony Davis is out, which I'm pretty sure he will be. But Dwight himself, 5.1. I would prefer JaVale McGee for the savings. Paul Millsap out once again, so that's obviously a boost to Jokic's appeal. Also makes guys like Jeremy Grant more viable. The thing is, his price, they did a good job pricing him up to 4.9K, where I'm fine if you land on it, but he's not like the smash value he was at 3.3K the other night. Other options, let's see. Tice is always an okay value play. They're raising his price out to 4.5. He's going to get somewhere between 20 to 25 minutes. I'm okay with him as a value guy. Now we get to some of the good value centers here. Gafford at 4.4, I know he had an off game, 27 minutes, 12 fantasy points. But I really don't think Chicago can throw Lauri Markkanen out there to guard Andre Drummond. Obviously, Thad Young can't handle him, so Gafford kind of is their only shot here. So I assume he's going to start once again. I assume he probably gets close to 30 minutes. I know he had an off game, but at this price at 4.4, I think he does stand out as a pretty good value option. I also really like JaVale McGee here. He got in foul trouble. I wouldn't be super concerned about it, right? Only played 18 minutes. Again, OKC does run more big, so I think JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard should split the center minutes. Should. You never know. But, I think JaVale McGee does stand out as a really good value option there as well. And also where is he? Jackson Hayes. I think stands out as one of the best value plays of the day here. I assume Favors is going to be out again. 24 and 29 minutes where Favors went down. Favors still got 11 minutes of action, and Hayes got 29 minutes. So I assume Hayes starts. I assume he probably gets close to 30 minutes. At under 4K, he stands out as one of the best value plays of the day here at 3.8K. I also don't mind Mason Plumlee at 3.8, who does get a huge minutes boost, but With Millsap out of there, he will play a few extra. He played 17 the last game against Dallas. They will play him a little bit alongside Jokic. They could even start him. They've started Mason Plumlee a few games here at the 4. If he starts at the 4, I would obviously have a lot more confidence, kind of like they did against the Pacers here. We got 24 minutes. I believe that's what happened there. Yeah, if he starts, I would have a lot more interest there as a value play there at 3.8. And then everyone else that's kind of it. So, yeah, all in all, there's a lot of centers to like here. Just thought I'd bring up Boban here. He's not going to play big minutes, but he's a guy that can get you 10, 15 minutes. We saw what he did against the Lakers. In 10 minutes, put up 28 fancy points. And he's at mid-price. Now, I can't really recommend it with confidence because his minutes are so little, but he is a guy that can get you in a limited time. Just thought I would bring that up. But yeah, again, all in all, center, there's a lot to like here, right? Drummond, Jokic, Whiteside at the top, and then the value guys with Gafford, with JaVale McGee, with Jackson Hayes. So I definitely think it's a 2-center approach here on this short 6-game slate. If I could, I probably would play like 4 or 5 centers, but again, you're kind of limited to 2 here on Draftkings. Giannis, I don't really know what to say here. He had, the game did blow out. He only played 28 minutes, only had 35 fancy points. His upside has really just been capped here with the minutes, with everyone being healthy, with Bledsoe, Middleton. We haven't had a big Giannis game in a long time. No, this could be a spot where he could have an upside game here, right? Against Portland. Portland, one of the worst defensive teams. So I think Giannis does stand out. But it's just more of a contrarian option. When we got LeBron James for $1,500 less with most likely no Anthony Davis, it makes it hard to get to Giannis. Now, again, there are some value plays, right? Those value centers. I think you can play both Giannis and LeBron if you want to. Giannis is going to be super low owned. I think you're going to get Giannis under 10% owned. But we know he still does have upside in him. He just hasn't really flashed it recently. Now we get to the Pelicans, guys. So with no Drew, I assume Drew Holiday is going to be out once again. If that's the case, it's Ingram, it's Lonzo Ball, get a huge usage boost. We've seen what Ingram has done the last 3 games. 56 in that tough game against Utah, a tough matchup then. 61 against a slower paced Chicago team, and then 51 in a good spot against the Knicks. This is obviously a tougher spot, but at his price at 8.4K, it's the price tag that makes him play, right? I'm not too gung-ho about this matchup against Boston, one of the tougher matchups. But with no Drew Holiday, which I assume he's going to be out once again, his usage is just insane. His minutes are almost 40 a game. So you got to have interest in Ingram here at that price. The Boston Wings are perfectly fine here with Tatum, with Brown, with Hayward. The issue is everyone's healthy, but it is a really good spot here. Tatum at 8K, it just makes it tough. Like, I would much rather play Brandon Ingram on the opposite side of the ball for $400 more, whose upside I just think is massive right now. So I already talked about Horford. I like him playing the center position. Tobias obviously gets a boost as well. Played 35 minutes that last game with no Embiid. Shot the ball 7 of 17. The issue with him is he can have a kind of low floor if his shot's not falling. Right, we saw it there against the Pacers in 24 minutes, 15 fancy points. But his upside is also a lot higher without Embiid, right? He's going to have to do more offensively. He's going to have to shoot the ball more. So I do have interest in Tobias Harris as well there at 7.8. Him and Horford do stand out as pretty good options to me. Again, don't mind Hayward here either at 6.5. I like his price more than I do Jason Tatum's. He had off game, 12 fancy points, obviously, but that was a really tough matchup. I think he gets right around 35 minutes in a close game. Again, this matchup is a lot better. So I think Hayward is perfectly fine there at that price. Gallinari, I think I'll let others chase is a really bad matchup against the Lakers. He came back by 28 minutes, had 47 fancy points. I think I'll let others chase that big game. Thad Young's okay, but I think I would rather take a shot at Gafford for a couple $1,000 less. Kuzma, so he had a really solid game there against Dallas. 34 minutes, shot the ball 22 times, which is good to see. 37 fancy points. The issue with him is he is kind of scoring dependent as well. But with no Anthony Davis, he's going to have to shoot the ball a lot more, like he did in this game where he shot the ball 22 times. So I think you got to have some interest here in Kuzma, even in a tougher spot. OKC, pretty solid defensively, but I think Kuzma still stands out as a good option there in the mid range. Sekou at 5.3. It's just I can't pay 5.3K for Sekou right now. Other options, not really a whole lot else I'm seeing here. Christian Wood's minutes are way down. Ilyasova, I mean, if he misses, maybe Giannis gets a few extra minutes. Not a huge deal there. Mike Scott, again, I don't think I would consider these Philadelphia secondary pieces. He played 26 minutes, 14 fantasy points. They're such low usage guys. I really think it's just that big four with Horford, with Tobias, with Josh Richardson, and with Ben Simmons. Michael Porter Jr., yeah, that's, again, Mike Malone, probably the worst coach in the NBA. Just not giving this guy minutes. You obviously can't go there. I guess, I mean, just thought I'd bring this up. Mike Muscala is 3.2K. He is going to play the backup five with no Nerlens Noel. Now, he did get extended a bit there against Houston because it blew out, but I think normally plays about 15 or so minutes. If you're going like superstars in the scrubs, right, if you're trying to get Giannis, LeBron, like a lot of those stars in there, I guess I don't hate the idea of playing Mike Muscala at almost min price. You're not going to feel great about that, though. Again, that kind of just opens up things to get like those studs in your lineup. But all right, let's talk about small forward here. So yeah, Luka, again, more contrarian in my opinion. Again, him and Giannis, I think are going to be super low owned. It just makes it tough. 12.4K. It's just one of the worst spots here against Philly. Philly really solid defensively. Can Luka still get there? Of course he can. His upside is massive with no Kristaps Porzingis. It's hard for me to get to Luka and for me to get to Giannis when you have LeBron in the slate at 10K with no Anthony Davis. So that's why it makes it tough to get to these guys at the top there. Again, LeBron James, I think, stands out as one of the best, probably the best spend up here. The game against Dallas had 32 minutes, 69 fantasy points. His upside is just huge with no Anthony Davis. So, yeah, you got to have interest here in LeBron at this price. I think, again, he stands out as the best spend up here. And that's, again, if Anthony Davis is out, I really do think Anthony Davis will be out. Ben Simmons at 8.5K, so I'm perfectly fine with him. The minutes are just massive for him, 42, 38, 30. He's going to play about 40 minutes a game. With no Embiid, his upside is, he does have more upside. So I'm perfectly fine if you get to Ben Simmons as well. I'm fine with any of those big four of Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Al Horford, and Josh Richardson. Chris Middleton had a big game last time out, 29 minutes, 51 fantasy points. It's good to see that he can still have upside playing alongside Giannis, but I wouldn't chase that game. Normally, he's a guy that's more of a cash game play that's probably going to get you somewhere between 35 to 40 fantasy points. So I'm okay with it if you want to chase that game, but that's probably not the way that I go. Will Barton at 7.1. It's a good spot here against Cleveland. He's back. Missed that last game due to a personal reason, so I assume he's going to be back and play probably about 35 or so minutes. He's been, he's got the one off game there where we only had 15 fantasy points, but other than that, he's been pretty consistent. I'm perfectly fine with Will Barton as well there at that price. Josh Richardson, yeah. So really, I'm good with any of those big four here for Philly. All of them are going to play massive minutes. Josh Richardson got 34 the last game, had 42 fantasy points. So I'm fine with any of those four guys. I think we're probably playing a couple is a smart idea just because we know where the offense is coming from Philadelphia. It's those four guys. Everyone else is just so low usage. So yeah, I do think I do want a couple of these Philadelphia 76ers guys in my lineup. Let's see. Bruce Brown had a huge game. Again, a lot of the Detroit guys did. The game went to overtime, played 38 minutes. It's good to see, though, that it does have upside still in him. Now, he's listed as probable, so I assume he's going to be good to go with that thumb injury. I'm okay with it at 5.8, but I would not expect 46 from him once again. Let's see. Other options. So Josh Hart has been playing big minutes with no Jrue Holiday. 33 and 37 minutes the last 10 minutes of Knicks. Not a guy that has massive upside, but if he's going to continue to play mid-30s minutes, even in a tough spot, I think Josh Hart is a viable value option here. Hardaway Jr., you guys know how I feel about the secondary Dallas pieces. They're very inconsistent with the minutes. Now, he has had 30 and 32 minutes in back-to-back games. This is a really bad spot against Philly, but 4.7K is okay. It's just, again, the minutes for the Dallas guys besides Luka are so inconsistent. Let's see. A guy like C.D. Osman, he hasn't played the big minutes. He's a very low usage guy. I'm okay with it as a value option. Svi Mikhailiuk was chalky the other night, completely busted. You guys knew I wasn't big on him. He's just such a low usage guy. 29 minutes, 5 fantasy points. I don't think we have to go there. Bazemore, another super, super low usage guy. Played 30 minutes, shot the ball 0 of 8, put up 8 fancy points. Yeah, we're getting into the gross value here. I think that basically sums it up here. I don't think I have to talk about any of these other guys. So let's talk about shooting guard. Zach LaVine, I think, stands out as a really good option here at 8.3. 38, 39, 37, 38 minutes. The minutes are there. Again, the shot attempts are there. I've talked about him getting more of the peripheral stats. He had 43 real-life points that last game against the Pacers. His upside is just enormous right now, and his price is not moving. So I really like Zach LaVine. I think he stands out as one of the better plays here at 8.3K. Drew Holiday, again, I fully expect him not to go. He missed out the game last night. So again, that's a boost to Lonzo, a boost to Ingram, as well as Josh Hart should get a lot more minutes there. Derrick Rose his minutes have really been consistent here recently. He's still coming out the bench, but has been starting the second half now. I believe 3 straight games he started the second half. This game against Chicago, Chicago does play at a slower pace, but Derrick Rose, his usage is enormous right now. Him and Drummond are kind of just the main catalyst in this offense. 43, 39, and 40 fantasy points in 3 straight games. His price is coming up. He's not like a great value like he was earlier, but I still think Derrick Rose is viable here at that price. Again, the other wings for Boston, Brown, Hayward, Tatum are perfectly fine here. No one ever stands out, but it's a really good spot here against the Pelicans. Jamal Murray at 6.9, I'm okay with it. He's very up and down, but we know he does have upside games in him. SGA against the Lakers, probably not for me. McCollum against Milwaukee is okay. We know he's going to play the big minutes. Again, I wouldn't be concerned about the last game where it blew out. I'm fine with it as more of a cash game option there. Again, the Philly guys stand out to me. Those big four, I talked about all 4 of those, but I definitely think playing a couple of those guys is probably a smart idea on this slate. Other options, Schroeder coming at the bench. I mean, his price did come down to 5.6. I'm okay with that as more of a GPP option. We know he's going to come off the bench. We know he's probably going to play about 30 minutes. We know he's going to shoot the ball a ton. It's a really bad spot, but that price point does make him viable. DeLon Wright has been starting, has been playing decent minutes, right? 25, 31, 26 minutes, but again, I just always talk about it. Rick Carlisle's rotations are so hard to trust. They're very, very up and down. Like George Hill is a value guy. I got him fine. I've talked about him being a solid play the last game, 22 minutes, 27 fantasy points. I'm okay with it again. Not a guy that's going to play huge minutes, but is a guy that can get you around 20 fantasy points in that time. NAW did get, how many minutes did he get? He had 24 minutes that last game, which is really good to see. If Drew Holiday's out once again, which I assume he is, I think NAW does stand out as a pretty good option here, who I think probably gets around 20 minutes. And at min price, we know like NAW can have big upside games. So I think he does stand out as a pretty good value option if you're going more stars than scrubs. I think the minutes will be right around 20 again. But let's talk about point guard here. Again, Luka, more contrarian option to me. I already talked about LeBron being one of the top spend. I think he is probably the top spend up there at 10K. Dame Lillard at 8.7 is okay, right? He had an off game. Again, everyone kind of off game there for Portland. That game blew out of there against the Timberwolves. Milwaukee does play at a fast pace, which is good, but a downside is they're one of the best defensive teams. So I think Lillard is fine. He does seem to always step it up in big games. This one, playing at home against the Bucks, should be obviously a good game or a big game. So I think he does. Again, he always does seem to step up in those big games. So I'm perfectly fine with Lillard at 8.7K. Yeah, no issue with him. Let's see, Kemba at 7.6. So I liked him a lot there at 6.5. He had a big game there, even a tough spot against Philly. This is a much better spot here against the Pelicans. He probably gets mid-30s minutes at 7.6K. I think he does stand out as a pretty solid option there at his price. Chris Paul at 6.8. Again, they did do a good job lowering these guys' prices for the bad matchup against the Lakers. I'm okay with Chris Paul, who probably gets, low to mid-30s minutes. So I think he is viable. I also do like Lonzo Ball a good amount here. Even in a tough spot, his minutes have just been massive. 37, 37, 38 minutes. Again, he had an upside game there in a tough matchup there against Utah at 43 fantasy points. So I like Lonzo, I like Ingram, and I also like Josh Hart's value play. I talked about NAW, I talked about Jackson Hayes. So I actually do like a lot here at the Pelicans. Even in a bad spot, there's a lot of guys that stand out to me. Bledsoe, so it is good to see, even with George Hill back, he played 30 and 31 minutes. Now, I wouldn't expect him to have 24 real-life points, but if he's going to continue to play those type of minutes, I think Bledsoe stands out as one of the better plays here in the mid-tier. So, yeah, you got to have interest here in Bledsoe at that price. Smart's an okay value play at 4.8. Yeah, it's a good spot. I'm okay with that. Garland, another guy that I'm okay with, is really bad matchup, but his minutes have been pretty secure at about 35 or so. Also, Rajon Rondo here at 3.8. So I do think he does stand out as a pretty solid value play here. With no Anthony Davis, played 24 minutes the last game, which I kind of expected. I kind of expected low to mid-20s minutes, which is what we saw from him. Now, he's been not so great recently, but if he's going to play like around 25 minutes, you have to have interest in Rajon Rondo here at under 4K. So I do think he stands out as a pretty solid value play at that price. And that is basically it. So, yeah, brief overview of the slate, guys. Again, there is, on the Pelican side, even a tough spot, I do think a lot of those guys stand out as pretty good options. On the Boston side, I'm fine with any of those wings. I think Kemba is always a perfectly fine spend-up option. Chicago and Detroit. Chicago, Levine really stands out to me. I'm fine with Gafford as value play, who I think will have to play big minutes against Drummond. On the Detroit side, Drummond really stands out himself in just a great match against the Bulls. I think Derrick Rose, even at an elevated price point, is fine as well. Lakers and OKC, LeBron stands out as like a top spend up to me. And then value guys like Rondo, like JaVale McGee, even a guy like Kyle Kuzma. I think those three are going to have to do a lot more with no Anthony Davis. Again, I assume Anthony Davis is going to be out there. On the OKC side, not a whole lot stands out. I mean, the Draftkings did do a good job lowering their prices. Like Chris Paul, I'm okay with you land on. Schroeder's a viable GPP option there off the bench. Philly and Dallas, I do think a lot of those Philly guys stand out as pretty good options with no Joel Embiid. The big four there with Richardson, Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Al Horford. I think playing one or two of those guys is probably a good idea on the 6-game slate. On the Dallas side, there's really not a whole lot of like here. Lucas Price is way up in a tough spot. The secondary pieces, again, it's always hard to trust the minutes from those guys. So not a whole lot stands out for me on the Dallas side. Cleveland and Denver. On the Cleveland side, no one really stands out. I'm okay if you land on like one of those guys, but no one really stands out to me. On the Denver side, Jokic, very up and down. I think he's more in play for GPPs. A guy, Jeremy Grant's going to get more run. Mason Plumlee should get more run with no Paul Millsap. I'm fine with them. Barton and Jamal Murray in the mid-tier also okay with, but no one like stands out as an amazing player in the Denver side. There is a little bit of blowout risk here as well in that game. And then Milwaukee and Portland. Giannis is going to be a very contrarian spend. I think he's super low on, but this is a really good matchup. I do think Bledsoe stands as a really good option in the mid-tier as well. On the Portland side, Whiteside, if he plays, I think stands out as a good option. And I'm fine with Lillard and CJ as well. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up here. So if you guys have been enjoying the content, would really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe. Again, if you want to get entered in the giveaway, all you have to do is a like and a comment in the video. That's the one entry in the giveaway. I will be live streaming for this one, the short 6-game slate, probably 30 to 45 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel. So be sure to check out the live stream where I will talk about all of the injury news throughout the day, as well as kind of give my core cash game plays for the day. And then it's also important to follow me on Twitter, guys. That will be in the description below. I will give my thoughts. If you can't make it to live stream or whatever, you can definitely follow me on Twitter. I'll give my thoughts and try to update you guys with the injury news for the rest of the day. But thanks again, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys all later in the live stream.